Jason, do you have the Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi?
Hafide and good morning, Guam. We bring you to the Two Lovers Point, where we're here this morning with the Rotary Club of Northern Guam, and they're holding a peace memorial ceremony in commemoration of 9/11, which happened 16 years ago. Today we can expect to see our first responders, we can expect to see members of our military, we can also expect to see our police department and a number of dignitaries who will be here to commemorate the tragic events that took place on 9/11 and the lives that were lost at that time. This peace memorial here again is at the Punta dos Amantes site, Two Lovers Point. So we're going to bring you live coverage. The ceremony should expect to take place shortly. I think they're waiting for a number of dignitaries to show up. And we're looking at about a 35-minute ceremony. And on the program, we have opening remarks, an opening prayer from Father Jeff Sinigalis. Keynote speaker, Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio, honorary speaker, Rear Admiral Shoshana Chatfield, and a presentation of wreaths, as well as a moment of silence and the sound of the sirens. And if you take a look around us, we have, again, a number of first responder vehicles, the U.S. Navy fire trucks, and we have our Guam Fire Department fire trucks, as well as the ambulance, who will also be participating in this ceremony this morning.
So we're going to go stroll the Two Lovers Point grounds here.
So we're here at the Two Lovers Point, and again, a number of dignitaries are here, members of our military.
Yeah, 16 years.
16 years, you know, I was in high school at the time, and I do remember getting a phone call from my aunt who told us to turn on the TV that day, and I remember sitting in the living room with my mom and my dad and just kind of watching everything unfold on the TV, and you know, who knew at that time, you know, what was going to happen 16 years ago. But it's an honor to be here at this ceremony and to cover the ceremony and to be here with everybody. And again, it's a wreath-laying ceremony. I think there are 4 stands, and there's some of the Marines that are here. Father Jeff Sinigalis, I think, getting ready to prepare for the ceremony. Where were you, Ken, 16 years ago?
I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and I was watching CNN. And yeah, one of my friends was in New York and called me and scared out of their mind. And yeah, it's a surreal day. It was a very crazy day.
Yeah.
Nick Delgado was in. Nick, where were you?
Hey, Nick. And we've also got Isa Baza another ceremony at Jose Rios Middle School, and at some point as well they'll bring her in live to talk about what's going on over there. So we've got team coverage throughout the island with all of these different memorial ceremonies going on. And then I believe there's also a special lunch that Jamaican Grill offers every year for our first responders or military members, for them to come in during lunchtime, and they offer them a free lunch. You know, if you remember correctly, you know, the first responders were a big part of, you know, the rescue efforts and the recovery efforts during 9/11. You know, and sadly, many of them lost their lives at that time.
So we have Nick with us on the call right now. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Hey guys, hey. So yeah, I heard the question, Ken, where was I during 9/11? I was only 15, 16 years old at the time, and so I was getting ready, waking up for school, living on Schofield Barracks at the time, getting ready to go to school when I saw the news and just watched it unfold there out of New York City. And at the time, I wasn't even sure what the Twin Towers were. I was young and pretty much naive to just what was going out there in the world, but sad to say, you know, I still remember what it was like that day for everyone, especially being a military dependent at that time. Of course, we didn't go to school for the next days. The post was on lockdown for several days, and so it was definitely a heartfelt moment for us all.
Were you stationed stateside with your family at that time?
Yeah, so we were stationed on Schofield Barracks in Hawaii at the time. So we were on Oahu. And
Nick,
we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't even leave the base for four days.
Nick, are you doing any coverage on 9/11 today? Where are you at?
So right now, the Guam Fire Department was similar to the situation you'll be seeing there this morning, where they'll be sounding the alarms. They said they'll be doing a similar scenario here outside all of the Guam Fire Department fire stations. I'm outside the Dedito Fire Station, where I'm sure a lot of the crews from here are already where you're at this morning, since it's just up the street.
Here, yes, he is. And again, several of our fire trucks, both federal and local. Everyone's here. Assistant Chief Burrier, I also see here.
Yeah, and so the fire department telling us this morning that they'll be sounding those alarms at all the fire stations throughout the island. The firefighters, the personnel, just wearing all the uniform and whatnot. And I have to tell you, this is the 16th year. In the 15th year last year, I was over in New York covering it, and what a feeling it was to hear from those firefighters themselves who actually had close ties, lost friends that had to respond, and even remember seeing the piles of bodies there on Ground Zero, and for them to just in the last year finally get the benefits that they that are long overdue. That was also a great moment to be part of in history.
All right, Nick, we're going to let you go. I'm assuming we're going to start soon here, but we'll see you later in the office.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
So yeah, I think we're just moments away from starting. I think they're just finalizing a couple of things.
At some point, I think we'll take a seat. Or...
Yeah, we're gonna sit over here. But you guys, if you could fit, yeah, sure. Fill us in where you were at during 9/11, or your memories of this day, or any tributes or prayers that you want to give to any people who are lost or survivors.
I think everyone has a story from what they were doing on 9/11, and many of us, a few of us were pretty young in the newsroom, but I think we remember quite vividly, the images on TV. Social media wasn't a big thing back then, but the images on TV and not quite understanding what was happening at the time, but. That was a hard day. I do recall, a lot of my teachers kind of having to sit down with us that day and kind of go over what had happened, and we didn't talk too much about terrorism at the time. And so,
Definitely an eye-opening experience. Maybe we can talk to Joey St. about first responders and.
So we have Fire Chief Joey St. here with us here at the Rotary Club of Guam, Northern Guam Peace Memorial. And if you could just talk to us a little bit about the role that the first responders played in 9/11.
Sure. Well, this is exactly commemorates exactly that, which is basically the fire service and all of public safety really's willingness to lay their life on the line for perfect strangers. And so an incident like this particular one really set America's history in a different path. And the fire service was right there, right at the beginning, the first ones on the scene. So just happy to be a part of this, to remember our 343 firefighters who paid the ultimate sacrifice. In line with a couple of firefighters here on Guam who have also paid the sacrifice, so we remember them as well. And also remember all those that continue every day to put their life on the line for perfect strangers.
All right. And can you tell us a little bit, I know we did get your message on the social media chat about what the fire department is doing to kind of commemorate 9/11. What are you guys doing to do
today at approximately 9/11, probably about a minute from now, we'll be doing a full lights and sirens tribute, where all our personnel line up in front of the station in formation, full gear, and just do a moment of silence, plus lights and sirens, and salute, give an honorary salute to our fallen.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Fire Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I think we're about to start the ceremony shortly. And again, that was Fire Chief Joey St. talking to us a little bit about the role that first responders played in 9/11, and he made a very good point that 9/11, 16 years ago, really changed the path of how things, how history is laid out for us at this point in time.
Hey, Virginia.
And little by little, a few of our dignitaries are showing up. We have Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio, who's also here. We have a Senator Regine Visco-Lee, who's here. I also see Senator Therese Terlahi. Senator Will Castro is also present, joining us.
Yeah, we have Issa. Hi, Issa. How you doing?
Hi.
Good morning, everyone. We are getting ready to start our event. Please find a seat and we will begin the ceremony. Especially clear the...
It's kind of hard for me to hear, but I'm here at Jose Rios Middle School where the school is hosting a 9/11 memorial ceremony. And so this is the program of events here right now. We have the 8th grade counselor. Her name is Liana Borja, and she was actually in Washington, D.C. during the 9/11 attack, so she's sharing her firsthand experience. Right now we have the whole school assembly out. The students had a beautiful performance this morning. They're also having later on during the ceremony an interpretive dance presentation, tribute to our military personnel, tribute to our first responders, and so we have members from the military here also, and of course the Superintendent of Education, John Fernandez.
Thanks so much, Issa. Thanks for joining us. We're going to start our ceremony in a few short minutes, so I know we'll have to cut it a little short, but thanks for the coverage. We'll jump back at you shortly, okay?
Okay, thanks, Val.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so we are just moments away finally from the start. So.
Can we get closer?
Yeah, sure. I actually want to catch the motorcade, so I'm just going to wait for them to... Let me do this over here. Here we go.
Rotarians, family, friends, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to our 9/11 wreath laying ceremony here at the Rotary Club of Northern Guam Peace Memorial. I am Rotarian Joe Rios, and it is my great honor and distinct privilege to be your Master of Ceremonies. We are gathered here in commemoration of Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance, and in honor of the individuals who lost their lives on September 11, 2001, and to unite in peace. Now, everyone, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Simon Sanchez High School Army Junior ROTC Color Guard.
Arch, arch. Arch, arch, arch. Others, out. Peace and
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danny Orlino to sing our national anthem and Guam hymn. Danny is a United States Air Force Vietnam veteran.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Panogit sa moro purita nota kanta matulanya gitodui lugar para y honra, para y gloria, a viva isla sin parar. Para y honra, para y gloria, a viva isla sin parar. Todo y tiempo y paz para hita, janggin ni langit na bendición. Contra el peligro na fansafuhan, Deus protege land Guam. Against all peril, do not forsake us. God protect our isle of Guam.
Thank you very much, Danny.
March, march. Others, up. Others, others. Other guys, all out.
Reverend Father Jeff St. Nicholas, Delegate General of the Co-Adjutor Archbishop, Archdiocese of Ganya, will provide a prayer.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. O God, our hope and refuge, in our distress we come to you. Shock and horror of that tragic day have subsided, replaced now with an emptiness and a longing for an innocence lost. We come remembering those who lost their lives in New York, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. We are mindful of the sacrifices of the public servants who demonstrated the greatest love of all by laying down their lives for friends. We commit their souls to your eternal care and honor their gift of self for us. We come remembering, and we come in hope in you. As foundations we once thought secure have been shaken, we are reminded of the illusion of security. In commemorating this tragedy, we give you thanks for your presence in our time of need, and we seek to worship you, who are our true peace and security. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Father Jeff St. Nicholas. Everyone, please be seated. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize our honored guest joining us today. Everyone, please welcome Honorable Ray Tenorio, Lieutenant Governor of Guam. Mr. John Calvo, representing Congresswoman Madeline Verdalio. Rear Admiral Shojana Chatfield, Commander Joint Region Marianas, Commander U.S. Naval Forces Marianas. Lieutenant Colonel Eric Tislin, Commander U.S. Army. Brigadier General Douglas Cox, Deputy Commander Joint Region Marianas, Commander 36th Wing Anderson Air Force Base. And Mrs. Lene Scott Cox. Chief Master Sergeant Gary Sekali, Command Chief, 36th Wing Anderson Air Force Base. Major Timothy Patrick, Public Affairs with Marine Forces Pacific. Master Sergeant Nicholas San Nicolas, Marine Forces Pacific. Lieutenant Colonel Adi Artero with the Guam National Guard, representing Brigadier General Leon Guerrero. Captain Hans Shawley, Commanding Officer of Naval Base Guam. Captain Christopher Chase, Sector Commander for United States Coast Guard, Sector Guam. Sergeant Major Chad Esky, Command Sergeant Major with the U.S. Army, 3rd Battalion. Honorable Therese Terlahi, Vice Speaker of the Guam Legislature. Honorable William Castro, Senator with the Guam. Honorable Regine Bisco Lee, Senator with the Guam Legislature. We have Honorable Joe San Agustin, Senator with the Guam Legislature. Honorable Frankie Salas, Mayor of Asan Maina. Honorable Melissa B. Savares, Mayor of Dedido. Honorable Rudy Matanani, Mayor of Jigo. Mr. Ed Talbot with the Drug Enforcement Administration. Chief Joey St. Nicholas, Fire Chief for Guam Fire Department. Colonel Nick Legaspi, representing the Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense. Chief James Scribner, Fire Prevention Chief with the Naval Base Guam Fire Department. Rotary Club of Guam President Marie Guerrero. Past President Don Clark, Rotary Club of Tumon Bay. And thank you. If I had missed someone, I apologize for. Captain Pierre Fernet with United Airlines, Chief Pilot for Guam Operations. Thank you, everyone, for being present today. At this time, may I call up Amir Yunus, Club President of the Rotary Club of Northern Guam, for his welcoming remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and Rotarians. We gather here today for more than one reason, but for unity and peace overall. The Rotary Club of Northern Guam is building this memorial. It is a work in progress that has spanned over the last 16 years. We are a small club, but a resilient one. The original memorial was intended to declare Guam, our island, as a symbol of peace for Rotary, to join over 100 cities and islands around the world who have made their stake in standing for peace. In the years past, we have commemorated 9/11. This year, we are proud to stand alongside our brothers and sisters of the Office of the Governor, Serve Guam Commission, Iraq, Afghanistan, Persian Gulf Veterans of the Pacific, united for the first time and hopefully for the years to come. To this day, our memorial remains unfinished. We decided to add tribute tiles to the memorial, as you will see in the engravings surrounding our centerpiece. You can be part of this memorial by offering your message of peace or by simply putting your family names like I did just recently. I would like to thank all of you for joining us today as we offer our prayers, our condolences, and our reflection on the anniversary of 9/11. And I ask each one of you to remember that the ultimate goal is peace in our local and global communities and within ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Club President Amir, for your remarks. May I call up our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Governor Rachel Noyo.
Today, Admiral, General, Senators, Vice Speaker, my friends of the Government of Guam, especially those who are here in our directorship. We have many people who served in our community. And, when I reflect today on this 9/11 memorial, I think about Amir's comments as my club president of the Rotary Club Northern Guam. I'm an honorary member. He talked about those who stood for us, and I looked over his left shoulder and I saw those Marines standing on the far distance of that memorial, and this incremental improvement that he talked about as well, it's a work in progress. Frankly, so is our country. You see guys like Joe San Augustine, who heads the Office of Veterans Affairs, who retired Master Gunnery Sergeant in the Marine Corps. One of the guys who stood just like my son now is standing in Camp Humphrey in South Korea, although he's in the Army, so sorry, he couldn't be in the Marine. Well, not that he couldn't, he decided not to, okay? Enough's enough. I love the rivalry between the forces. But I think about Buck Cruz, who was a Marine, who's the oldest Marine living on Guam, who's down in Marisa, who served his country. And Madeline Berdallo, who's our delegate to Congress and works along our armed forces. and our police officers, and whether or not they're in the armed forces or not, Kim Santos and I have seen more blood, I think, than some military members, frankly, because we're in the police department. We protect our homeland just as much as the guys who are out in other far-flung places around the world. But the work we do, ladies and gentlemen, including the Veterans Motorcycle Club, who made their presence here, along with the 671 and other groups who honor us with their presence, some of them Marines, some of them Army, some of them, most of them veterans. Every one of us contributed to our nation. Every one of you knew and felt, just like I did, the pain when we saw those towers being hit so many years ago. It's 9/11 Memorial. It's not just about the past, no more than Veterans Day or no more than Liberation Day. Remember those times. Remember the tyranny and oppression. We remember not the terror, but the courage that our men and women bring every single day, 24 hours a day, against the likes of Kim Jong-un or Osama bin Laden or anybody else who brings us harm. It doesn't matter whether it's China or Russia or our previous foes, whether it's Japan or any other country. We make them our friends in the long term because they know that our democracy stands for something, that it means the freedom to be able to see our citizens aspire and to achieve their dreams, that we've overcome not just tyranny or terror. Those are the things that motivate us, like the Marines who are standing in the distance. Those same members of the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Air Force, every single one of them put their life on the line. I, Governor Calvo, the First Lady, every single member of this community understands what it is to be able to stand for our country, because we see those members of our family going to do it every single day. I was talking to Admiral Chatfield earlier and talking about an issue, and she says she's more than willing to talk about it, just like the Vice Speaker talks about, just like every one of our representatives talk about. It doesn't matter what your position is in this society, ladies and gentlemen, it's what you do with those positions that define us. It doesn't matter what branch of the military you were in, it's what you did when you were there to bring honor to your family, to your country, that makes a difference. And we, whether it be in the fire department or any other agency of the government of Guam, we stand behind those military members because we know that they put their lives on the line and they know that they will never see another 9/11 event again, because we will protect the homeland from afar. We will keep those bullets and those bombs where they need to be, not here in our soil, but in someone else's soil. We will fight all forms of terrorism, be domestic or foreign, and we'll fight those enemies and foes of democracy because we know that those things must be fought, that we must sacrifice our own to be able to make sure our future generations understand that democracy is much more than redressing the grievances of the government. Its ability to understand the freedom of speech and religion and the things that make our country great. So I stand here today, ladies and gentlemen, as a humble member of this community, one that loves our island as much as any person, but I picked this island to be my home, and I may not pick my parents, but I pick my children, and I pick what they'll do in their lives, and I'll make sure that this country and this island is a place where they want to raise their children as well. So as we celebrate those who have been able to make sure that our democracy perseveres and that it is continued in the future, I want to ask you to please help me, not in applauding my speech today, but applauding the military members, the fire department, the police officers, and every member of this community to make sure that our democracy and those Marines who stood in the far distance, who are sweating, waiting to perform their duties, will make sure that their exercise is not in vain, but they are standing in the representation of the democracy that our forefathers stood for over 200 years ago. This is Masi. Maraming salamat po. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. All right, I'd like to also take this opportunity to please welcome Mrs. Ashley Cruz with the Iraq, Afghanistan, and Persian Gulf Veterans of the Pacific Organization. Mr. Tyrone Guillory with the Transportation Security Administration, Assistant Federal Security Director for Law Enforcement. Wayne Santos, Assistant Governor for the Rotary District 2750. Thank you. At this time, please welcome Rear Admiral Shijana Chatfield, Commander, Joint Region Marianas, our honorary speaker.
Tough day and good morning. September 11th is a day that remains ingrained in every American's heart and mind. It was a day in our lives, our country, and our world where we realized things had changed forever. I keep on my office wall a mosaic of the front pages of the newspaper that were published that day, where our allies and our friends expressed their horror and disbelief in the tactic that had been used against Americans in our home. It is the responsibility and the duty of governments to provide for security of the population. And we do that through the military and with our state and territorial first responders. Americans in their workplace were attacked. It violates our fundamental belief of universal human rights. The right to live, to seek to pursue prosperity and happiness, and to let those responsibilities of security be taken up by governments. This adversary does not recognize those basic human values. Our industry, our wonderful airline industry, was impacted that day and forever changed. A service industry where people convey essential personnel and essential goods to locations inside and globally has been forever altered. It's not right. This violence is not right. But our resolution to counter this violence is right. On September 11th, we'll never forget the lives that were lost in New York, our nation's capital, and Pennsylvania. We remember those lives that were stolen from us, and we recognize those first responders who rushed into the flames. And we reflect on the resiliency of our nation. From this tragedy, we found strength, and from our grief, we found perseverance. What we did not find was fear, and fear will never be our response to terrorism. Our nation has united around this threat, and our people are proud in their patriotism. I know each of us remember where we were on that day, what we were doing when we realized the horror, and who we wanted to reach out to console and to share the grief. We will never forget September 11th. Those who were lost on that tragic day are in our hearts and minds forever, and we continue to support those families who felt that loss even more profoundly. It is in their memory that we continue our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of all who would threaten it. Sejus.
Thank you very much, Admiral Chatfield. Please also welcome to our event Chief Stanley Torres, Fire Chief with Anderson Air Force Base Fire Department. Lieutenant Jin Yi, representing the Guam Police Department. And Tommy Cho, Korean Association of Guam President. Now, we will go ahead and have our presentation of wreaths. May I call up Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio, Rear Admiral Chatfield, Brigadier General Douglas Cox, please proceed to the memorial site. The cadets will present the wreaths, the cadets with Ukudu High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC. Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio, Rear Admiral Chatfield, and Brigadier General Cox will lay a wreath symbolizing our unity in peace. May I call up Chief St. Nicholas with the Guam Fire Department, Chief Stanley Torres with Anderson Air Force Base Fire Department, Chief James Scribner with Naval Base Fire Department, and Lieutenant Jin Yi with the Guam Police Department. Please proceed to the memorial. Chief St. Nicholas, Chief Torres, Chief Scribner, and Lieutenant Yi will present the wreath in memory of individuals who lost their lives at the Twin Towers. May I call up Captain Hans Shawley with Naval Base Guam, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Tislett with the Army, Major Timothy Patrick with Marine Forces Pacific, and Chief Master Sergeant Barry Seckley with the Air Force. Captain Hans Shawley, Lieutenant Colonel Tislin, Major Patrick, and Chief Master Sergeant Seckley will lay a wreath in memory of individuals who lost their lives at the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. May I call up Captain Christopher Chase with the United States Coast Guard Sector Ground, Tyler Gulery with the Transportation Security Administration, Colonel Retired Nick Legaspi with Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense, and Captain Pierre Pernet with United States Airlines. Now Captain Chase, Mr. Guillory, Colonel retired Nick Legasky, and Captain Pierre will lay a wreath in memory of the individuals who lost their lives in the forests at Pennsylvania. Thank you, everyone. You may please return to your seats. Everyone, please stand and join me in a moment of silence for the innocent men and women and children who lost their lives on an airplane, at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, and on the streets of New York. Fire engines. Lieutenant Governor Ray Tenorio and Club President Amir Yunus for the presentation of the proclamation.
Proclamation number 2017-71, proclaiming September 11, 2017. It day to recognize and honor our heroes, National Day of Service and Remembrance. Whereas on September 11, 2001, America experienced the worst terrorist attack in her history, when nearly 3,000 beautiful men, women, and children were taken from us, leaving their families and our nation with a void that can never be filled. In the years since, we have stood strong as one people, determined to further embolden our country's character with acts of endurance and strength, rebuilding and resilience, and renewal and progress. The compassion that rose in the hearts of our people on September 11th serves as the ultimate rebuke to the evil of those who attacked us. We remember the bravery embodied in our great nation's first responders and volunteers who put their lives on the line to save the rest of our brothers and sisters, demonstrating their unwavering courage and strength. People from across our country and the world joined together in the days that followed to stand up and lean on one another with open arms, making of a tragedy something the terrorists could never abide, a tribute of hope over fear and love over hate. We stand with our nation today and every day to honor the innocent souls who were taken from us on that dark day, but the stories of those lost and the beauty of their lives shine in those they left behind. In remembrance of the innocent victims who lost their lives as a tribute to the families who still live with extraordinary pain, let us continue to answer these heinous acts by serving our communities and spreading the hope that others tried to dim that day. By joining together on this solemn anniversary, let us show that our nation's sense of common purpose need not be a fleeting moment, but a lasting virtue. Let us carry on with love for one another and remain rooted in faith. And may we continue to pray for the families who suffered a great loss, not just on one day, but every day. On this day, let us also thank our island's first responders, those who jump into the fray to pull us out of danger. Our firefighters, police officers, and other brave souls carry on their shoulders a legacy of pride, courage, and honor. And we thank them for their dedication to our safety and their willingness to help every Guamanian in a time of emergency.
Now therefore, Elibaza Calvo, Imagala Guam, Governor of Guam, by virtue of the authority vested in him, by the Organic Act of Guam is amended, has proclaimed September 11, 2017 as National Day of Service and Remembrance. We call on all Guamanians to observe this National Day of Service and Remembrance with acts of selflessness and charity. In doing so, we prove once again that the powers of those who seek to harm and destroy is never greater than our power to persevere and to build. In witness whereof, the Governor is hereby set his hand and caused the great seal of Guam to be affixed in the capital city of Agana on this 11th day of September of the year of our Lord, Anno Domini 2017. Signed, Eddie Bazacalvo, Imagalahin Guahan. Countersigned, yours truly, Mr. Gooden, Imagalahin Guahan. Lieutenant Governor Guam. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and to Club President Amir. At this time, I will call back Danny Orlino to sing God Bless America.
As the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. One more time. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains, through the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet
Thank you very much, Danny. This concludes our 9/11 ceremony program. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. Before you leave, may we get the honored guests, firefighters, in front of the memorial, the monument, for a group photo. Also, please help yourself to some refreshments
Hey
provided
everyone,
by
thank you so much for joining us.
Peace
So that
Memorial
kind of wraps
Committee.
up the Peace Memorial
take this
ceremony
opportunity to
hosted
thank
by the Rotary Club of Northern Guam.
Rotary Club of
We're
Northern
here
Guam,
again to commemorate the September 11
American
attacks that
Guam
occurred
Commission,
16 years
the
ago.
Office of the
And just
Governor
a
of
few
Guam,
talking points. If you remember the 16 years
Program
ago,
Volunteers,
there were the
Anderson Air
attacks on
Force
the World
Base
Trade
Fire
Center,
Department, Bank of Guam,
along with the attacks
Farragut
on the
Mayor's
Pentagon.
Office, Digital
And then
Mayor's
there was a
Office,
failed attack
Express Science, Guam Homeland
at the,
Security Office of Civil Defense, Guam Fire
it involved
Department, Guam
United Airlines
Hawks,
Flight
Motorcycle
93,
Club, Guam Police
which was a
Department,
failed attack
Guam
on the
Veteran
White
Affairs
House,
Office,
but the plane had crashed
Iraq,
in
Afghanistan, and
a
Peru,
county in
Veterans of the Pacific,
Pennsylvania. And again,
Construction,
altogether there were
Naval Base,
nearly
Guam Fire Department,
3,000
Office of the
victims
Governor of
in those
Guam,
attacks. And
Office
again,
of the
9/11 was the
Governor of
single
Guam,
deadliest
Clinton
incident for
High School,
firefighters and law
Major
enforcement
ROTC
officers in the
cadets,
history of the United States,
Punta Dos
with
Cervantes,
343 and 72 killed respectively. Again, today they laid 4 wreaths here at the Peace Memorial Ceremony. If you want to come and check this memorial out at another time, you're welcome to. It's here at the Punta Dos Cervantes Two Lovers Point. And that kind of wraps up the ceremony, but again, everyone has a story from where they were at 9/11 16 years ago, and we'd be happy to hear from you and kind of listen to what happened at that time. Again, many of us in the newsroom were fairly young when those attacks occurred. I had earlier, like I said, I remember I was in high school. I remember being woken up by my parents to come watch TV, and I remember seeing the images on TV, just kind of being devastated that something could happen, with that magnitude here in the United States. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have more for you tonight on Prime Time, Channel 8 at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much.